of Mechanical Engineering for the benefits of students and staff community. Now, I like to introduce today's resource person of the webinar, Professor Vishnu Nambudiri. He has 5+ years of industrial experience as assistant manager and FD manager in leading manufacturing industries. Currently, he is working as an assistant professor at the National Institute of Construction Management and Research, Hyderabad. He is actively engaged in research of energy simulations. He is carrying out the research jointly with DES USA. He is the coordinator for the distance education program of National Institute Construction Management and Research. We are very happy to introduce him as one of our outstanding alumni. It's our proud moment to have him as a resource person. Now I invite Professor Vishnu Nambudiri to deliver the presentation on advanced material processing technology. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. So I think we can start our presentation now. So this 1 hour session will be dealing with advanced material processing technology. So that is quite important to many manufacturing sector nowadays, because all these peoples, they want the advanced technologies in greater way for the properties and other systems. So today we'll be discussing in detail about various advanced manufacturing technologies. So we will start our presentation now. So advanced manufacturing technology, normally we can generally divide the general technology. So technology is very important to our manufacturing sector to improve the process technologies and of course the material properties. So here we can divide the advanced technologies into different aspects. So first of all, in materials, we can have the casting, sintering, and these are the conventional methods for the material processing. Okay, so sintering, foaming, material removing, non-conventional, joining, welding, protection. So all these kind of are conventional technologies, and these are how having greater problems in our sector, because we require more important technology that can be enhance the property of the material. That is very important to understand. So for this understanding, we need to know what are the available new technologies that can be utilized for improving the material properties. So here we have the basic manufacturing process that will be lying in the property enhancement, shaping, and surface enhancing. So here we will be having, we have a lot of literatures that is related to heat treatments of the material. So if you are having heat treatment, so we can reduce the stress inside the material, and that may help to improve the properties. But nowadays, it's not only about the stress relief in the material, it is about hardness, it is about the tensile properties of the material and elongation, and of course, other microstructural properties that we require. So here we will be discussing about the evolution of the materials over a decades. Okay, so here we can see the evolution of the material. Now we are in 2020. So here composite materials, polymers, elastomers, and ceramic glasses type of material will be having a greater impact in the research field. So today we will be discussing about the only 3 different types of the advanced material processing technology. We are not going to discuss about basic material processing technology, because all the literatures will be getting more informations. But these 3 different types of material processing technology will be very limited resources we have nowadays, especially the Covitic material process and selective laser meltings. So this will be having very limited resources nowadays. So we require more advanced research, and we have to improve the number of research in these two areas. So first we will be discussing about the friction stir processing, that is a solid state material processing technology. So this friction stir processing is evolved from the friction stir welding. So the friction stir welding is discovered by the Welding Institute, or TWI, in US in 1991. So later that friction stir welding is converted to friction stir processing. So almost the process, if you divide the subgroups of the process steps, both are almost same. So friction stir processing is a novel technology. So here we have a solid state welding process. So normally the solid state welding process, which means the entire process will be carried out within the melting point of the material. So we are not going to melt the material up to the melting point. All the process will be carried out inside less than the melting point of. So that is a greater advantage. So there is no requirement of any other specific advancements are not required. So it is very easy and it is very helpful in different aspects. So first we will see what is FSP, or the friction stir processing. So here you can see a tool that is a non-consumable tool, you can see here. So this is a non-consumable tool that normally will be manufactured from the titanium based alloys. So that will be greater impact, and that will be helping for the non-consumable property of this particular material. And here you can see the base plate, or the material that we want to process it. Okay, so here you can see there will be a rotation and there will be transverse motion. So first we will be having a non-consumable rotating tool. So this tool will be having two different terminology we have to understand. One is the tool shoulder. So this we can have the tool shoulder, and this is the tool pin. Okay, so the tool pin will be very less diameter, and tool shoulder will be as per our requirement, as per our research interest, we will be defining the diameter of the tool shoulder. So the idea is that the friction will be the heat generation for the process. Suppose we will be taking a casting, we will be using a furnace, or we will be using, so the furnace will be the heat source for the melting of the material. But here the friction, so friction between two materials will be taken consideration for the heat generation. So that heat will be transferred from the tool shoulder to the material. Then slowly the temperature will rise up to some extent, and the material processing will be taken place. So next, this tool will be plunging inside the material. So that we are seeing here. So the rotating tool, it will be in the higher RPM, and it will be plunging inside the material. So why we required a tool pin? Because we required to start with some extent. So it's like a drilling a material into the base plate, then we'll be starting the process. So otherwise, if you are having only the tool shoulder, we will not get that much good thermal distribution, or there may be chances of uneven frictional forces. To make this in a continuous way, so we have a tool pin. So this tool pin, first it will be entering into the material like a drilling. We can take an example of drilling. So after that, the tool shoulder or the tool shoulder will be touching the material. So this tool shoulder will be the main important factor for the generation of heat through the frictional aspect. So once it is rotating and it is plunging towards the material. So once it is plunged, our pin will be inside the material, and it will be the tool shoulder will be started touching the material, so the friction will be there, so the friction will be enhancing the heat generation, so heat generation will be taken place, so the material flow will be starting. So next, this will be continuous to a traverse speed, so we'll be using some sophisticated like we can say like a CNC machines, like so like that coding will be there for this particular equipment. So this will be a traverse speed. So we have two parameters. We have the rotational speed, the penetration depth, and the traverse speed of the material. So now the question is why we have to do this friction stir processing. It's like a complicated thing. So we have to moderate or optimize all these three parameters. Even the tool design also will be an important role in the material properties. So the question is why we record friction stir processing. So normally if you see, the material properties may vary according to their processing temperatures. Suppose you will be having a casting, there will be lot of defects, there will be lot of chances of defects, and we record more sophisticated NDT testings to track down the defects. But here we don't record that kind of sophisticated NDT technique because this is less than the melting point, so there may be chance, there will not be any chances of point defects or any other type of defects in the material. Another one important factor, if you see the microstructure analysis of the casting materials. So every time if you see the grain boundaries and the grain distribution in the material will be an important role for their properties. So if you see the other conventional methods like normal casting or any other type forging, anything if you take, we will not get that much refined microstructure, or the number of boundary walls will be very high. So if the number of boundary walls will be high, or then the grain structure will be more fine. So the fine grain will be an important candidate for the enhancement of material property. So this will be helping. So the fine grain microstructure we can obtain from the friction stir processing. So this will be actually this we can say this is this friction stir processing made some more advancement in our material science, and especially in tribology also. So this is actually about the surface composites. So suppose you will be having two dissimilar metals or any type of alloys we'll be having. So particular area, suppose we'll be taking an example of an aerospace automobile system, where you want one surface to be very much hard, another surface to be in the normal properties, because all the surface if you want to increase the properties, that maybe cost will be more. Especially this will be applicable for the aerospace application. So the surface treatment, like we have the heat treatment, so there will be limitations for the heat treatment, so we cannot have that much enhanced properties if you compare with the FSP. So next we will be having the ceramic phase of type of reinforcement that we are doing, or the surface composite, the formation of surface composite in the material. So we will be dispersing some kind of ceramic particles into the material, and we are enhancing the material properties, especially whichever surface we want to do. So here we will be having how we will be fabricating these kind of critical composite material. So we have to select which type of material or which type of base material or alloys. Like if you want aluminum or copper based alloys, we can consider for this application. So then we have to find out which type of material we have to consider. Then we have to understand the material or the composite material. So composite means in the sense everything will be in the matrix, composite matrix. Then only we can call it as a matrix, composite matrix. So, but which type of reinforcement we require? Normally, we have different kind of ceramic particles. Okay, normally nowadays we'll be using the PDC or the powder derived ceramic particles or PDC. Okay, so powder. So it's not powder derived, it's actually polymer derived ceramic particles. So this ceramic particles of which contain silicon, carbon and nitrogen, so this will be infused in the material through the friction stir processing. So we can say that what will be the output. So from the literatures we have a very good amount of increase in hardness has been observed for the surface composites, which processed by friction stir processing. So here we can see the substrate or the base metal. So here you will be having lot of alloys, aluminum alloys will be there. So here the substrate micro hardness, because hardness value will be having the substrate value of 88, 85, 60, 41 and 41. So but if you're doing the surface composite, if you're adding some of the material inside, mainly we can say here they have considered the SiC and especially the SiC of 15% volume they have added in the FSP process. So a drastic improvement in the micro hardness is observed. So it's about we can say it's about the double. So double the hardness. So this is a greater property that we can use it for increasing the hardness property. So now we will be discussing about the microstructure, refinement, casting alloys and MG alloys, magnesium and aluminum casting alloys response to the FSP process. So here we can see the microstructure refinement. So here we have the alloys, aluminum alloys we have. So here in the cast, as cast, the yield strength value is 132. And if you are doing the FSP, that will be increased to 140. And ultimate tensile strength of the material is 169. And if you are doing the FSP, that will be drastically increased to 238. And elongation in percentage, that is improved up to 38%. So this is a great thing that we have some kind of technology to improve the material properties. The next one important terminology that we have to understand is the superplasticity of the material. That is the capability of the material to deform to the larger extent. So here we have observed that the FSP process will be influencing the increasing the plasticity property of the material. This is because mainly the fine grain observation in the microstructure. So here also we will be seeing because all these kind of informations of FSP process, and this we can do for a selective region. So that is the one of the important aspects that related to FSP. So how it is actually happening? So this recrystallization or the recrystallization, that will be converted to the smaller grains in the particle. So recrystallization in the sense, suppose you are having a material that will be having higher crystallized structure or the grain sizes. So that material, if you are taking for the FSP process, it will be recrystallized and you can observe small grains in the material. So this may be a reason for the increase in super elastic elongation. So here also we can see the grain sizes in the nanometers. Micrometers we can see. So here you will be having cast plus FSP. Here you can see 3 micrometers are the different grain sizes in the microstructure. And of course, this will be under 530 degrees Celsius, which is less than the melting point of the particular material. And of course, the strain rate also given. And elongation in percentage also will be given. So here, if you see, the grain size of the material can be drastically reduced. So for this, we'll be seeing a SEM analysis or scanning electron microscopy analysis before and after the material. So once as casted and another is after FSP. So here we can see a good grain refinement in the material. So this refinement will be improving the property of the material. So here also, this is for alloy AZ91 as casted and FSP. Here you can see the grain boundaries are very less in the first one, and if you see the grain boundaries are very high, that which indicating the grain refinement. So this will be helping to recrystallize in the smaller grains, and this will be helping to improve the property of the material. So now we will be taking an example of a polymer derived ceramic composites, how to manufacture this, because our interest is to how to fabricate and what are the technologies that we are using. And of course, we need to know that how we will do these things, right? So now we have seen that it will be increasing material properties, and it will be increasing in different aspects related to mechanical properties. But we have to know how we will do this. So for this, we'll be taking a example of nickel aluminum bronze. So this nickel aluminum bronze is widely using in the marine applications. So normally we can say an example when the turbine shafts and turbines shafts, and of course the propeller in the marine equipments. So this is the optimum value we have selected, that is tool shoulder is tool shoulder value and the tool pin value. So this is the particle. So this we have done our experiments. So this is a particle that is a polymer derived ceramic material. So polymer derived ceramic material is a we can say it is like a patented material which contain lot of lot of chemical compositions will be there. So this is a polymer derived ceramic material. So we can say how we will do this PDC manufacturing also. That is also quite an important parameter in this particular section. So PDC is a normally polymer derived composites, ceramic materials. So this PDC polymer, so we will be having some kind of polymer materials, okay? So that can be converted to the ceramic material. Okay, so that is actually the intention. So that ceramic particles will be dispersed in the material through FSP process. So these are the particles that we have selected for the reinforcement. So this is the 5-axis friction stir welder. Of course, we have discussed that friction stir welding and friction stir processing almost same. The materials will be, the process will be same only, but here we will be adding some materials or reinforcement will be doing. Otherwise, if you have two dissimilar metals, that you can weld it easily also. So this is a 5-axis friction stir welder. So this friction stir welder will be utilized for the manufacturing. So here we can see the tool. So first image is the tool image that we can see it, and second image is the nickel aluminum bronze plate. So here we have made some kind of cavities. So this is a friction stir processing. Okay. So here we'll be having some cavities. So this cavities is filled with that PDC material, or the polymer derived ceramic materials. So here you will be having the material, and this tool will be plunging towards the material. So this is the process, FSP process, and I would like to share one video about this, how this FSP process is being done. So here we can see the shoulder is touching the material and the material will be processing. So here we'll be seeing the actual friction stir processing. So the PDC particles will be equally distributed along the material. So like this, for the entire material, we have to do the processing. So once we will be completing the process, it will be like this. So this is the first pass. So we'll be having will be the first pass or the first movement towards the material. So we'll be having different passes because literatures, they have adopted that if you have multiple passes, that will be influencing the material property. So there will be lot of factors, a lot of parameters that we have to optimize for a good material properties. So this is the final image of the material. So we'll be having a lot of passes we have conducted. So this multi-pass, 3 passes. We have taken a pass of 3 passes. So continuously above one and other, 3 passes are carried out, and this is the final nickel, aluminum, bronze, and material for that will for the application. So here we'll be selected the PDC material for the disbursement or the intrusion inside the material. So this is also image that showing the multiple passes in the material. So this is the process for the non nickel, aluminum, bronze. So there we cannot see the cavities. So we are not going to disperse any kind of material for this particular material. So we have selected through 2-3 samples. 3 samples we have selected. One is we have taken the nickel, aluminum, bronze alone. So we have conducted the FSP. And another one, the PDC, that will be dispersed in the FSP through the for the nickel, aluminum, bronze material. And another one, we have selected the heat treated material also we have taken. So these are the different short images, and this is the final cut value. So we have with the electrical discharge machining, so we have cutted the samples for the further evaluation. So this is the, so normally now the question is, what is the PDC? So the name of the PDC, so this is taken from the Scion Corporation in US. So this material is a patented material from them. So we have taken that material for our studies. So here you can see the silicon, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen particles or molecules in the PDC materials. So these are the results that we have obtained. So if you see the micro hardness value, a drastic improvement in the hardness. If you see the normal NAB value, that is 151 HV because hardness value, and if you are using a PDC or the polymer derived ceramic material, so in that you will be having 323 HV. So that is a great advancement in our technology, and that is almost double the hardness we are achieving. So wherever we record higher hardness, this kind of process we can adopt. So this is all about the friction stir processing. So because we have a lot of other type of behaviors also we have observed in this particular nickel aluminum bronzes. Suppose we can say an example. If your hardness is increasing also, there may be or may not be improving other properties. Simple example, we have conducted this nickel aluminum bronze in marine environment. So we will be interested in that time for checking the possibility of material usage in marine environment, but we got a good result that if you are increasing the hardness also, there may be chances of reducing other properties like wear property. So wear in the material, if you are using this NAB, nickel aluminum bronze, in a marine environment, the wear will be more. Wear will be more. So it's not that you are increasing hardness and you are completing everything. So we require to understand the synergy between all the parameters inside the material. So because all the mixed material will be differing in different ways. So next material we'll be discussing, it's a quite interesting material that is called a new material that is called covitic material. So this covitic material has a greater advancement in our material processing technology, but normally all these people will not be knowing about this material because this material is recently patented. So this is invented by Roger in 1997, but it took around 13 years or 10 to 13 years for the actual process. So this process is this material type process is evolved and it is got patent in only on 2013. Hardly we can say around 7 years. So this is a new type of material, and this material is patented with the this material and material processing is patented with the third millennium metals in US. So this is also a type of new material because very limited research and very less literatures are available about this material, and we will be getting a good surprising and very promising results for this particular material. So this material that we are discussing in the outline, as I stated, this is related to the casting. So normally we know that in casting, so we'll be using a furnace and we will be melting the material above the melting point, and later the evolution came as the carbide material. So we'll be adding the carbon inside the material and we are improving the property of the material. It is similar to that, but there are some other changes in the properties. So the first among these literatures are happened in 2014. So there they have coined the name covitic. So that is covalent and metallic bonding. So there is a strong covalent bonding of carbon in metal. That means there will be a strong bond of C or carbon covalent bond formation of carbon in metal. So this is a great thing. Okay, so this is a great thing, and this will be helping in many aspects. So alternative method I stated like that, solid processing methods, that is also a material improving properties, but here we'll be using the we'll be infusing the carbon into the material through a unique process. So that is the difference between the casting and the covitic material processing. So we don't have a proper name for the processing methods because these things are covitic material processing only, but we will be discussing how we will be processing this material. And one of the important observation in the literatures, we can see that the carbon does not separate after remelting or laser ablation or any type of spurting also. This is very important. If you see a casting, if you are introducing some carbon inside the casting, if you remelt or any type of forging or anything you do, there may be chances of changing the material properties. There, the carbon bonding may not as we expected. So there will not be any consistent property of the material that we can be fabricated. So this is very important. These covetic materials can be remelt, can be dilute, can be alloyed, or you can use any type of post-processing technologies. But the carbon will not separate. That is one of the important factors, because that covalent bonding is very strong. If you see casting, why this is happening? Normal casting. If you are casting, you are introducing some carbon inside the material. The carbon intrusion will be having very low solubility in the material. That's why. Very low solubility. Thus, if you are remelting also, it may change the property. But in covetic materials, we'll be using some special kind of methods to avoid these kind of properties. So the properties of materials will not be changed if you are remelting or diluting or alloying. So that is a great advancement in the material processing technologies. So normally the covetic materials, the nanomaterials are infused with the nanocarbon particles with a unique electric process. So this term is very important. We will be infusing the material or the nanocarbon material into the metal matrix with influence of electric current or the potential difference. So this will be helping to make a good covalent bonding with the metal bonding. So this will be, so normally these covetic materials will be having of higher heat and electrical conductivity. So that is the main advantage. If you see nowadays, everyone is thinking about how efficient your materials are. Suppose we'll be taking an example of power line transmissions. Still, we are using aluminum, right? We cannot use copper because that is very costly. But in aluminum also, we have lot of transmission losses. But if you are using the covetic material as aluminum, so we can say covetic material is not only about any particular. We can do different. Normally, we will be having gold, aluminum, copper. So the researchers are more concentrated on the covetic material that considered from the aluminum covetic, aluminum covetic, aluminum covetic, copper covetic, and gold covetic materials. So this will be having a greater impact in our society, and so we require more research in this field also. So we require a metal melting in an induction furnace. That can be an induction furnace for melting the material, and we'll be adding the carbon and stirring. While stirring, we'll be applying the electric current. That is very important. So we'll see the fabrication module for the covetic material. So here you can see the current. Here we can see the electrodes, thermocouples for controlling the temperature, and here we'll be adding the this is the molten metal, and this is a stirrer, this is the cubicle, and this is a bottom current electrode, and this is the carbon that we are going to infuse into the material. So this is the fabrication method for the processing method for the covetic materials. So if you are using a material, suppose you are taking an aluminum or if you are taking copper, the copper molten material first will be melting here, and we'll be adding the carbon or infusing the carbon to the material, and you will be having stirring. The same time, you will be all this process you are doing in a particular potential difference or the high current flow. Now we'll see the thermal and electrical property of these materials. Thermal conductivity. So they have observed that a 13% of increase in copper. Thermal conductivity property is increasing about 13%. Oh, that is great observation. Why? Because nowadays we'll be having different kind of fuel cells. Suppose we'll be taking a hydrogen fuel cell or any type of electrical system. Nowadays we'll be having a lot of electric vehicles. So the thermal management in the electrical systems are very important. For that, even the coating materials, we can use it for increasing the thermal conductivity. So thus we can reject the heat from the electrical systems. Next, we'll be having the electrical conductivity. So electrical conductivity, as I stated, this kind of wires, aluminum wires, cables that we are using for electrical transmission, if you are using this coating material, an increase of 28 to 37% will be obtained. So that is also a great thing. So the thermal conductivity, if you are increasing, it means your transmission, electrical transmission will be more efficient. That is also a property of this material. Another one, increased oxidation resistance in thin copper films. One of the studies they have conducted in Covitic that is related to copper films. These copper films they have taken to manufacture the transparent electrodes. So this is an application for the hydrogen fuel cells, any type of fuel cells. So there we record some kind of electrodes. So this copper we can use it as an electrode, but that is a transparent one. In that particular literatures, we observed that there is an increased oxidation resistance. This is very important because normally we'll be having electrodes that can be oxidized in the cell. So that's why the performance of this kind of fuel cells are deteriorating over a period of time. So if you are using this coating material, that will be having a greater impact in increased oxidation resistance. So the life of the fuel cells will be improved. Now we will be discussing about the mechanical property of this material. So here we'll be having a 3%. One is 0% of carbon infusion into the material, means that is the pure one. And second one is 3%, and third one is the 5% one. So if you see the ultimate tensile strength of the material, that is improved. So if you are using the material, the coating material will be increasing the ultimate tensile strength. So the mechanical property also good. The thermoelectric property also very much good. So this is one of the interesting factors related to the coating material. So this is very limited research we have in the coating material. So we require to push up our research to the coating materials. Now potential applications. So as I stated earlier, the high voltage power transmissions and substitution for electrical windings and motors. So these things we have to, this will be helpful for us. And of course, the heat exchangers, fuel cells, nuclear fuel rods, thermal management in the microelectronics. So these are the potential applications of coating materials. Of course, in industrial relevance, that can be reduce the weight, and that can be enhance the property to thermoelectric properties and mechanical properties of the material. So this is about the casting advancement that we have recently but it's quite important to understand another type of area that is mainly focusing in the 3D printing. So the 3D printing, we have seen lot of equipments nowadays we have for 3D printing, but we are using the polymer based materials for the 3D, like plastics. Suppose you want to some kind of product or prototypes, you can easily manufacture the particular material. But there we are using actually the polymers, which can be easily molded. But nowadays, there are strong influences are there to increase or to enhance the application of the 3D printing. So one of the application in the 3D printing is the 3D printing of the metals. Suppose you want a bearing, and not bearing, we can say take an example of flange or something, that we can easily printed by selective laser editing. This is also a type of new technology. So this also a recent researchers are going on this particular area. So selective laser melting. So it's a type of 3D printing, but we are 3D printing the metal 3D printing. So metal will be 3D printing. So this he will be using the powder material, and these materials will be melted according to our requirement. So the process is 3D modeling, slicing, printing, and inspection. So 3D modeling will be using some computational or any type of modeling software. We'll be modeling what material that we want, and then we'll be slicing that material to different layers. So because this process is layer by layer, if you see the 3D printing also, it will be layer by layer only. So the layer by layer will be processing the material. Okay, so the slicing means the 3D model will be sliced into different layers. That will be manufactured by the layer by layer. Then the printing, of course, we know the model, which model we have to use, and what will be the layers, whether it is 5 or 6 layer material, or 5 or 6 layer we have to form. So based on that, we can print the material. So this is one of the schematic drawing of the material processing technology. So here you can see selective laser melting. So here we can see the laser. So here you can see a scanning system, and here there will be 2 types of pistons are available in this particular area. One is fabrication piston, another is powder delivery piston. So this fabrication piston will be moving downwards, and the powder delivery piston will be moving upwards only. So first we will consider recoater means to fill this particular area. So these are the metal areas. So first process condition, we will be taking an example of a first layer. So that first layer, this fabrication piston will be in the upward position, and the powder delivery piston will be in the down position or bottom position. So first layer of material will be taken from here to here, then through the laser that will be melted. So once it is melted, we have to give some time for the cooling also. Otherwise, there is no point. So that will be waiting for some time to solidification. Once it is purely solidified, the fabrication piston will be moving down and this powder delivery system will be moving up. That means that is ready for the next layer. So like this, the progressive of layers will be happening and finally your object will be fabricated. So this is the general idea in that, and this whole system will be enclosed in a inert gas area to avoid the oxidation of the product. So this is a schematic representation. So here we have the CAD file, numerical slicing, that is a layer. We have to slice the material into different layers because we have to identify the thickness also. Then layer processing, then layer by layer manufacturing, and finally you will be having the final component. The printing methods will be having different other methods also available. That is selective laser melting, selective laser sintering also there to increase sintering process, and fused filament fabrications. So this is an additive manufacturing method. So it is a if you are using a complex geometry, we can easily manufacture, because if you are using casting or any other type of forging casting, that will be increasing the stress in the material. And again, we have to do some kind of stress relief methods like heat treatment or any other type of techniques we have to use to relieve that stress in the material. Then only we will get good material property. So that we can avoid in this particular selective laser melting. So here we can use different titanium, any alloys we can use it, and there will be a lot of high accurate materials we can manufacture, because some kind of aerospace applications we require very precise accurate materials, some kind of rocket propulsion systems, and of course in aerospace applications we require very precise products. So for that, mainly we can say an example in the turbine blades and other things, we require more sophisticated and precise models. So for that kind of models, we can use the selective laser melting process. So the parameters that which affect the selective laser melting is atmosphere, temperature, which powder we'll be using, and laser power and the thickness. So it will be negatively affect the mechanical properties atmosphere. That's why we are keeping some equipments in the condition of different inert gases like nitrogen, argon, and helium. So the laser power also will be an important role. So that is also we have to optimize. And temperature. So laser temperature at the point also will be in the range to 22 to 300 degrees Celsius. So here also we can say the materials easily to melt in the powdered layer. So there will be that particular area only will be melted. And the powder thickness also will be an important role. And polymer properties like thermal properties, optical properties, and viscosity and particles are very much important. Polymer properties of the particular selective laser melting also an important role. Then thermal properties, the crystallization temperatures, the region between the thermocouples are very much important in the particular area. So here we can see the sintering temperatures in the area, and here we have the specific heat flow and the temperatures. Okay, so this is for the sintering applications. And optical properties of the powder also will be important, because that will be influencing the laser efficiency and viscosity and surface tension. And the particle size also will be an important for the system. So the spherical particles and other types of particles also will be an important role. So what will be the applications? So we'll be using my biomedical, automobile, and building and modeling, food industries, electrical, aerospace applications, we'll be using the selective laser melting. And other applications will be using the potential to solve different aspects that we require to give to the customers, because the product is very low cost, because we require very less infrastructure to make the product, and further machining, polishing that may not require for this system. So that is good. So we can reduce a lot of manpowers, and we can reduce and we can increase the product efficiency. So for this, I think we'll be completing our 3 different topics because we have very limited time to cover. So this is all about the materials, and this is all about the different new technologies that we are using nowadays, and we require a lot of advancement in these 3 different types of metal processing technologies. And apart from this, also nowadays one more area is improving is studying about fullerene material. So that is normally we will be calling as a carbon nanotubes. So this carbon nanotubes also an important role. The dispersion of this carbon nanotubes in the material also an important role in the system. So in coating material also we will be using the carbon only, but we can use the carbon nanotube also. So that is the thing. So here you will be having a lot of opportunities, mainly in the coating materials. We have very limited resources are available now. So we require to have more advancement in this area. And of course, the selective laser melting, the properties, we have to optimize the properties to get a good result. And of course, in friction stir processing, and we require more advancement. And nowadays, we can say what is the advancement in the friction stir process. Of course, the process is there, and that is an old process. In 1991 only, after that only it is evolved. But the numerical simulations of the friction stir processing, friction stir welding have gained a greater attention. Why this is because to infrastructure the friction stir processing for the research will be very difficult, because we have to lot of investments we have to implement for the friction stir processing or the welding. So we can numerically evaluate through different computational models in the ANSYS console. Like that, we can model the parameters and we can see the evolution and we can see the result in better way. So by this, I would like to end my presentation, and I am really very much thankful to Department of Mechanical Engineering in SCAT College to give me an opportunity to give some little things about this particular presentation. And thank you. I hope you are doing all well, and have a great day. Thank you.
Good morning, Nambudri.
Yes, sir.
Nambudri.
Yes, sir.
It is a very good presentation given by you. It is a very pleasure that we are having you as an expert today. Okay,
Yes.
and here the audiences are having certain questions to you, Nambudri.
Yes.
Shall I ask you?
Yes, you can answer. Yes.
Yeah. The first question, it is given by Mr. Logesh. Will PDC have strength and wear properties if we go for reinforcement with the PDC?
Yes.
I'm repeating the question. Yes. Will PDC have strength and wear properties if we go for reinforcements with the PDC? Yeah.
So actually, this PDC is a very powder. We can say it's like a powder. So we cannot say that PDC will be having a lot of advancement. But if you are dispersing this PDC to the material, so material properties will be enhanced. So it's a polymer-derived ceramic material, actually. That is a patented material they have created. So that is commercially available. So if you are taking that material and you are dispersing into the material, then the material property will be enhanced.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Nambudri. And another question is from Mr. Anthony. This is, what are the applications of machine learning in developing new materials? What are the applications of machine learning in developing new materials?
Yes, the machine learning and artificial intelligence are very important nowadays for the understanding the materials. So that is we can call as a computational material science. So this is also one of the emerging area in the material science, that is called computational material science. So we require to know more about the machines, things, and the artificial intelligence. The combined machine learning and artificial intelligence will be helping to improve the materials. Before manufacturing, we can simulate and we can see what material will be giving the property. We can predict it.
Yeah, thank you for your second question. And another question is from Mr. Vinod Kumar. Once FSB done, if have any special equipment is needed, or conventional vertical drilling machine setup is enough? I shall repeat again. Once FSP done, if have any special equipment is needed, or conventional vertical drilling machine setup is enough?
And that
This is
convent,
from Mr. Vinod.
yes, as we know. So that we record some sophisticated system because we record to operate the parameters like how much depth or penetration that we record, how much tool speed. Okay, of course, in drilling machine we can control speed, but we cannot. Of course, some extent we can control the depth penetration also. But we record some sophisticated system to control and monitor this process in mainly in three areas. One is the tool speed, one is the depth of penetration, and another one is the traverse speed.
Thank you, Nambudri, for your answers. And this is the time for vote of thanks. Mr. Bharat, please join.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, greetings to all. This is Mr. Bharat from Department of Mechanical Engineering. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this online webinar session. I, on behalf of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the participants who blessed us with their presence and took out valuable time. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to Mr. V. Vishnu Nambudri, Professor, National Institute of Construction Management and Research, for his valuable presentation and advanced material processing technologies. I also wish to express my gratitude to our management, General Manager Development, AGM, and Principal Dr. A.B. Darney for providing us an opportunity to organize this webinar session with encouragement and support. I heartily congratulate all the participants for their active participation in this live webinar session. As no program can become successful with a single person, so I extend my big thanks to our Department of Mechanical Engineering for their support and contributions. Bye-bye. Meet you all that webinar session 5, our Department of Mechanical Engineering, Zoom. Participants, kind attention. Feedback form link is provided at the chat box. Kindly fill it out. After submissions, you all will receive your e-certificate through your registered mail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The program is over at